Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebekah Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elrom.
In our top story, over 100 Israeli leaders gathered at the Knesset for the Sovereignty Conference and called on Israel to finally annex Judea and Samaria. This comes on the heels of a meeting of the Knesset Subcommittee on Judea and Samaria, where attendees discussed the practical implications of declaring Israeli sovereignty in the biblical heartland. Ministers of Israel's ruling Likud party have unanimously called for sovereignty, extending Israeli law throughout the Jewish homeland. In May, the Knesset passed a non-binding motion declaring support for this important initiative. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich ordered his offices to formulate an operational plan for applying sovereignty to the area. He said, "We will not stop until Judea and Samaria receive full legal status and become an inseparable part of the State of Israel."
Israeli authorities have rejected a multinational statement calling for an end to the war in Gaza. 25 countries, including Italy, Belgium, Austria, Denmark, Canada, Ireland, and Japan, signed on to the declaration demanding Israel cease hostilities in the Hamas-run enclave. Israel's foreign ministry responded by saying, "All statements and claims should be directed at the only party responsible, Hamas." It added that the Iranian-backed terror group started the war on October 7, 2023, and is prolonging it every day by refusing to release the remaining hostages taken from Israel. The multinational statement fails to recognize the responsibility of Hamas in attacking the Jewish state, massacring 1,200 people, and taking 252 hostages. Instead, it blames Israel for the continued fighting. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar noted that Hamas welcomed the international support. Sa'ar warned the 25 nations that they sent the wrong message at a critical time in negotiations. He said Hamas is the sole party responsible for the continuation of the war and the suffering on both sides.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that America is withdrawing from the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Culture Organization, known as UNESCO. In February, Washington ordered a 90-day review of the notoriously corrupt institution for allegations of anti-American and anti-Israel bias. After the inquiry, it voiced serious concerns over UNESCO's pro-Palestinian and pro-Chinese leanings. It also raised objections to its DEI policies. White House Deputy Spokesperson Anna Kelly explained that UNESCO supports woke, divisive cultural and social causes that are totally out of step with the common-sense policies Americans voted for. Jerusalem hailed the move as a necessary step designed to promote justice and Israel's right for fair treatment in the UN system. UNESCO has passed numerous anti-Israel resolutions and has designated ancient Jewish holy places in Israel as Palestinian World Heritage Sites. This includes the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, the Tomb of the Patriarchs in Hebron, and Joseph's tomb in Shechem.
The House Judiciary Committee in Washington has launched an inquiry into the diversion of U.S. funds used to finance anti-government protest in Israel. During President Joe Biden's term, the state of Israel was rocked by demonstrations against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his program to reform Israel's judicial system. Biden appeared to express support for the protest and criticized the proposed legal reforms. Now it's been shown that the former President of the United States, Joe Biden, did much more than voice his opposition to Israel's government. He used U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund the anti-Netanyahu protest in Israel. The House committee confirmed that it found evidence that the Biden-Harris administration provided nearly $1 billion to left-wing groups that contributed directly to protests seeking to undermine the Israeli government.
Iranian officials have confirmed that the country is facing a severe water and energy crisis. The leaders of the fanatic Islamic Republic have spent years investing in nuclear weapons, while public infrastructure rapidly deteriorated. Iran's Minister of Energy released a report warning that the country's critical reservoirs could run dry within weeks, and he confirmed that the crisis is much worse than publicly acknowledged. Tehran's provincial water supply company announced that reserves in the city's main dams are at their lowest levels in a century. City authorities have asked the public to limit water consumption as crippling heat waves push temperatures upwards of 122 degrees Fahrenheit.
Jerusalem has transferred a massive shipment of aid to the Druze community of southern Syria. The world was shocked recently when Syrian forces entered the city of Suwaida and massacred over 1,000 men, women, and children. Rights monitors believe that hundreds of Druze were systematically executed by troops loyal to Syrian leader Ahmed al-Sharaa. The IDF boldly stepped in to defend this ancient community and was successful in repelling Syrian regime forces. Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar announced the approval of a 2 million shekel package to provide food and medical supplies to the people of Suwaida. Jerusalem also confirmed that it is considering extending its security barrier in the Syrian buffer zone to protect Druze from further persecution.
The Israel police have launched an investigation into claims that Jewish youth attacked and burned a church in the Arab city of Taipei last week. The world was quick to condemn the Jews after church officials released video footage of what they claimed was radicalized Jewish settlers setting fire to a 1,500-year-old Greek Orthodox church. The Israeli police launched an immediate investigation into the claims. They found that footage actually proves the Jewish shepherds arrived on the scene after the blaze broke out. They responded with firefighting equipment and attempted to extinguish the flames before they reached the church's historical ruins.
The Israeli government announced that jurisdiction of the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs in Hebron has been temporarily transferred to Israel's civil authority in order to complete necessary upgrades to the site. These renovations will benefit all those who visit the burial place of Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob and Leah. A similar transfer was enacted in 2020, allowing Israel to make the holy site handicap accessible. At that time, the city's Muslim officials claimed that Zionists were attempting to take over the tomb. However, that was not the case, and Muslims, as well as Jews, benefited from the upgrades. The Islamic Waqf has forbidden excavations or improvements at the Maqbarah. It also sealed off entire areas of the cave, making them inaccessible to non-Muslims. The Waqf, backed by the city's 2,000 Muslims, has repeatedly threatened the few hundred Jews living in Hebron.
The Nelson Mandela Foundation is offering grants to groups willing to fight against Christian Zionism. The South African organization released a statement saying Christian Zionism is a theology that conflates biblical prophecy with political support for Israel. The foundation accused Zionist Christians of misusing scripture to justify Israeli domination and discrimination. The Nelson Mandela Foundation is offering awards of up to $8,500 for activities combating Christian Zionism. The South African Zionist Federation denounced the statement, saying Christian Zionism is embraced by millions of South Africans across racial, cultural, and denominational lines. It is rooted in Scripture and reflects a profound theological connection to the Jewish people and the land of Israel.
The Israel Antiquities Authority, in cooperation with the City of David, has led an extensive excavation of Jerusalem during the Byzantine Christian period. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of how the city was adapted to transition from a Jewish holy site to a Christian one. It proves that by doing so, Jerusalem became a major Christian pilgrimage center. Ari Levy, the IAA Director of Excavations, said the sanctity of the city of Jerusalem attracted thousands of believers from all over the ancient Christian world. He confirmed the IAA discovered magnificent churches, monasteries, water and traffic infrastructure, and an urban layout that supported mass gatherings. It also found evidence that public spaces in the city were designed according to the spiritual and physical needs of ancient Christian pilgrims 1,600 years ago.
Israeli runner Blessing Afrifa has won the gold medal in the European Under-23 title for the 200-meter sprint. This is the 21-year-old athlete's second gold medal at the EU 23. Last year, Afrifa took first place at the competition in Finland. In 2022, he set a new championship record and became one of only 4 under-20 runners in history to break the 20-second barrier in the 200-meter race.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Marc Belzberg. He's the founder and chairman of the OneFamily Fund. Marc, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Tell our viewers a little about what is the OneFamily Fund.
OneFamily was founded 23 years ago when many people won't remember, but when Sbarro Pizza Store blew up and a lot of kids were killed. And at that point in time, we decided our daughter, who was a 12-year-old at the time, we said, go to each hospital, visit all the kids, see what you can do to help them. And then 2 weeks later, with the second Intifada, a bomb blew up, a bus, a lot of people got killed. My wife and I looked at each other and said, you know what, we're just going to take this on as a project. We're going to take care of everybody from here on in. We had no idea how big it would get and how long it would take, but it's been in 23 years and we're still doing it.
You work with a lot of the survivors of terror attacks, a lot of the people who are mourning the loss of war. And so since October 7th, it's been a very intense time. Can you tell us about that?
We take care of everybody who's lost somebody in their family, whether they were killed in a terror attack, they were killed in war, they were killed in uniform, or civilians and soldiers. And what we do is we've had to triple the size of the organization during the last 2 years as a result of the huge number. The number of people who've been killed in the last year and 3 quarters is equal to the number of people that were killed over the whole last 23 years. Okay, and so it happened in one shot. Basically, as a result of that, our main thesis is people need to be with people like themselves who went through exactly what they went through. And when you're with someone who went through exactly what you went through, you understand each other and you can heal together and support each other. That's kind of the fundamental principle of what we do, is arrange events for people to get together, retreats overseas, retreats in Israel, of people who are like peer groups, basically.
A lot of people know that since October 7th, around 900 soldiers have been murdered, around 900 civilians, but thousands of people have been affected. Parents, children, brothers and sisters. How do you get these people together and see how to help them?
Yeah, well, there's 10,000 family members, approximately 10,000 family members who've been affected, who've lost someone in their family. And what OneFamily does is we divided the country into 10 regions. Every region has a regional director. That regional director is in charge of going to every single family in their region who lost somebody during the mourning period and saying, we're going to be here for you after everybody leaves the 7-day mourning period, and we're going to be with you for as long as you need us. And they map out the family, and then they have programs for every single member of the family. Whatever age you are, whatever happened to you, we have programs for everybody.
What's really interesting is that you actually put them into different categories. There's women who lost their husbands, widows. There's widows with children. There's orphans. There's, you even mentioned to me earlier that there are twins who lost a twin. Why is it important that each one is in their own category when dealing with this grief?
The only person who really understands you and you can share everything with and you can be yourself completely with is with someone who went through exactly what you went through. I sat in on a twins group, right? There are exactly 40 twins who lost a twin. Of those 40, 3 of them are triplets. Okay, I went to one of the group sessions, and it's like one guy walked in who'd never been there before. It was his first time with the group, and it was like he was like the best friend of everybody in 2 seconds because they feel each other, they understand each other deeply, and it's important that each experience of loss is different. If you lost a husband, it's different than if you lost a child, and so you have to put them together with each other.
One of the things that has emerged in this last year and a half is that there are actually orphans. There are people who lost both their parents, whereas usually in our wars, a father goes to war and he dies or is murdered, and you still have the mother. So how do you deal with the situation where there's all these kids now who don't have parents?
Right. There's 108 kids up until the age of even 40 who lost both parents, okay? Most of them, of course, were much younger. The ones who were under the age of 15 were adopted by uncles and aunts. In one case, there was no uncle and aunt that wanted them. They were adopted by grandparents. The ones who were, and the ones above that, let's say, 15, 16 to 22, they want to live alone. And above that, they are already perhaps married and have kids. But what OneFamily does is we divided them into those three groups: the ones who've been adopted, the ones who are young adults, and the ones who are a bit older. And each one of them has a special program. What we've learned is that they need to know that the new family they have is a whole family unit. And to do that, we take the new families and the kids they've adopted away together with the kids they had before. Don't forget, each of these families who adopted kids have their own kids, right? And we've taken them away to Mexico for 2 weeks, already twice, where the families get a chance to bond together and create that new family unit and get the kids to get along with each other, and the parents to really find develop the love they have to show the new kids they've adopted. So it's a lot of, again, it's retreats for all the different ages. I went on one retreat with a group of young adults where we took them to Lapland, and part of the day was sessions every night and snow activities during the day. And that way, again, they bond, they become a unit, they live, and they're best friends forever.
Marc, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
The most important thing in the world today is to help the people who have really sacrificed the ultimate for the sake of living in Israel and for the sake of the Jewish people. And these are the people that need our help the most, are the ones who are suffering the loss. And what OneFamily does, obviously, is we need donations from the world. We've got thousands and thousands of donors from around the world who help us out. And if anyone wants to come to Israel and volunteer, we have lots of things they can do, and volunteer in hospitals with the wounded or volunteer on retreats with the people.
Thank you, Marc, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
And now the truth from Zion.
Since 1979, the Islamic Republic of Iran has been insidiously promoting terror around the globe.
Iran is the #1 founder of terror around the world.
And its influence extends like tentacles, spreading international chaos and destruction wherever they reach.
Iran's terror tentacles can be traced back to the head of the octopus in Tehran.
The Ayatollah's fingerprints are everywhere, from the bustling streets of Tehran to the war-torn landscapes of Gaza, Yemen, Lebanon, and Syria. All this while the oppressed Iranian people are denied basic freedoms. In Iran, child marriage is legal. Women are forced to cover themselves from head to toe and are physically assaulted at random by the modesty police. Non-Muslims are harassed and persecuted. Iran has been threatening Israel, Jews, and civilization as we know it since the Iranian Revolution in 1979. The fanatic Shiite state has a sophisticated system of proxy armies that work on its behalf. The fanatic Islamic regime provides funding for weapons, ammunition, and strategic guidance to Iran's proxy militias, hell-bent on the destruction of Israel. These small militias are strategically placed at Israel's borders. They constantly fire rockets and threaten to invade Israel in order to carry out terror attacks on the civilian population. Adherents who subscribe to this brand of Islamic extremism believe they have a religious obligation to kill Jews. The genocidal assault on October 7th was an attack from Iran's proxy Hamas, carried out by terrorists equipped by Iran and trained on Iranian soil by the Revolutionary Guard Corps. In Syria, Iran's presence is felt in every bomb blast and every sniper's bullet. They prop up the murderous regime of Bashar al-Assad, prolonging the suffering of the Syrian people while using the country as a staging ground for their terror operations. Based in Yemen, a radical group known as the Houthis, also armed and trained by Iran, wreak havoc on innocent civilians and destabilize the region. The Houthis have increasingly exerted control over key maritime routes in the Red Sea, particularly around the strategic Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Deadly underwater sea mines, drone attacks, and missile launches from coastal areas are all tactics the Houthis have been using to disrupt international shipping, posing a serious threat to maritime security. These attacks have already caused significant economic damage, as international trade ships are now avoiding certain waterways due to concerns about the safety of the ships, goods, and crew being targeted by these Iran-backed terrorists. Hezbollah is Iran's most prized proxy. This army lives and works mainly in Lebanon. Just as with the other terror organizations, Hezbollah is funded, trained, and supplied with weapons by Iran. They launch daily attacks on Israel's northern border, indiscriminately killing civilians and soldiers. Iran revealed its true face to the world early on Sunday morning, April 14, 2024, when it attacked Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East. More than 300 weaponized drones, cruise, and long-range ballistic missiles were launched toward the Jewish state. Israel's defense forces reported 99% of the projectiles were intercepted. Israel's Iron Dome and Arrow defense systems went into action to protect Israelis of all faiths who were under attack. The display of support for Israel was unprecedented. American forces intercepted drones over Iraq and Syria. The United Kingdom employed British fighter jets to assist in intercepting UAVs. France did the same. Jordan closed its airspace and aggressively shot down any aircraft entering overhead. Saudi Arabia, which was on the verge of signing a peace agreement with Israel before October 7th, agreed to provide vital intelligence regarding Iran. The United Arab Emirates followed suit. Iran's promotion of terror is not just a regional threat, it's a global menace that requires a united and resolute response. The moderate nations of the Middle East finally understand that Iran's goal is to become the dominant power in the region. Arab countries that used to reject Israel have now decided to join the Jewish state out of a mutual desire to stop Iran's religious ideologues from fomenting chaos and destruction here and around the globe. The international community must stand up to Iran and hold them accountable for their crimes against humanity. If the fanatic Islamic rulers of Iran are not toppled from power, the world could soon find itself embroiled in a nuclear holocaust. Up next, the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
Since 1980, the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem has been a voice of Christian support for Israel and connecting the global church to the land of the Bible. Headquartered in Jerusalem, the ICEJ has taken practical action to stand with Israel, such as helping Jews return to their ancestral homeland of Israel, caring for Holocaust survivors, providing bomb shelters for vulnerable communities, fighting anti-Semitism around the world, and inviting Christians to discover Israel for themselves.
Today we're in Bat Yam. You can see behind me the effects of an Iranian missile that hit this building just on the evening of Saturday night, Sunday morning. It hit on the 6th floor, and all the floors underneath collapsed, which led to the several floors above it collapsing as well. And this is what you see here in the rubble. The amazing thing is, those who were in shelters in this building were saved almost without any injury. Those who were in the stairwell came out and just were able to brush the dust off, and they were okay. Unfortunately, those who were in this part of the building, which was the living rooms and other parts of the house, 7 people were tragically killed that night. We're here today to witness what's happened, and more than 1,500 to 2,000 people today are without homes and have been evacuated into hotels. We'd like to see what we can do to help them. see the devastation caused by the war with Iran, where Israel suffered 30 casualties, thousands were injured, and over 9,000 people are currently displaced. We want to thank you for partnering with us in this critical time in Israel's history as we provide essential aid to those most impacted by these attacks. Your support is helping provide summer camps and trauma care for children, grants for families who lost their homes, emergency equipment for first responders, and more. This aid not only meets the urgent needs of Israelis, but deeply impacts the hearts of those who receive it, letting them know that they are not alone. We invite you now to stand with us as we are providing immediate relief for those affected by the Iranian missiles. And God bless you from Jerusalem.
After Hamas brutally attacked Israel on October 7, 2023, the ICEJ has been actively standing with Israel and her people through advocacy and urgently needed aid projects. Now is the time for Christians to turn their love for Israel and the Jewish people into real action as never before. Your donation will help in various relief projects for families, businesses, and whole communities in this ongoing recovery process. You can help deliver bomb shelters to at-risk areas, provide necessary supplies for first responders, provide trauma care to those shaken by the conflict, and help the hardest hit areas renovate and rebuild their communities. Visit ICEJUSA.tv to donate online or call 1-800-910-6355 and give your generous gift today.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Rebekah Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elrom, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.